The Charlotte Hornets interview an interesting coaching candidate. Who is it? We'll tell you about it in just a moment. Plus, finally, some good news with the Charlotte Hornets when it comes to the NBA draft. We'll get to all of it today on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and we're available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. There's David Walker making his weekly appearance. You can find him on Twitter at David B. Walker, and there's Doug Branson. His substack is everyhornetsboxscore.com. Go check it out. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. So let's just get right into the weird news that we got yesterday from Shams Charania, who broke that the Charlotte Hornets are going to interview JJ Redick as a potential head coaching candidate. And we know about JJ Redick's NBA career. We know him very well for his college career, being one of the most hated Duke Blue Devils of all time. We know him for his podcast career. Now, the old man in the three, mind the game. JJ Redick has been in our conscience for like what? We're talking about since the early 2000s, and he hasn't gone anywhere. It looked like he was going to be a decent NBA player, actually got a lot better as his career went on, and the podcast really is very good. I listened to it quite a bit. The Mind the Game podcast, I think a lot of basketball fans are going to be listening to him team up with LeBron. But David, I'll start with you, somebody that is a diehard North Carolina fan, and that Carolina blue, it has infiltrated your love for the purple and teal as well, with Michael Jordan owning the team for quite some time, with guys like Jackson Simmons and Brandon Robinson rolling carts of balls in the tunnels of the Spectrum Center. They're everywhere. North Carolina nepotism is everywhere. The Carolina Blue Mafia is real. What do you think about JJ Redick getting a head coaching interview?
Oh, this is great news for podcasters, guys. I feel like this is really that's the big winner of this whole story. We've all got shots now at getting on some of these NBA benches. This is fascinating. I mean, he did interview with Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, last year, or was in talks to that. Yeah, that's true. And it got a similar reaction at that point that I think a lot of folks gave it last night when this was kind of breaking. JJ obviously knows basketball, played basketball to your point, has never actually coached basketball outside of some AAU teams, I believe, which for me is a bit of a red flag, if we're going to be honest. When we're talking about the next leader on the bench of your NBA franchise, one that needs some direction, one that needs some leadership, one that quite honestly needs a culture shift, this is one way to go. And I think he could turn out to be a great coach. You're just putting all your eggs in the basket of that. It could happen. He could, because we don't know. There is no track record. There is no history. You look at the three finalists for NBA Coach of the Year, those guys came up through the G League at best, sometimes sitting on benches outside the G League, then coming up through the G League, then doing the assistant route, then being a head coach, getting their shot. And it seems like that would be the way for this team to go. I mean, this would be a splash. So on that angle, I can kind of see it. Not a splash brother, but a splash brother from another mother, I guess.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all just splash brothers from other mothers? I think so.
So I think that's the concern. Is it just seems less. This seems like a less serious hire to me than someone who was in the lead. Some of the guys interviewed earlier, and some guys was Charles Lee that we learned was maybe rumored to be a leader in the clubhouse. So that's the concern with me, is obviously the experience. That's the scary thing. Is someone with no experience going to lead a LaMelo Ball led team, who's trying to find his footing? I don't know. That's the big question mark.
Well, the Hornets haven't experienced the playoffs in a long time. So I guess it would be different if this were a veteran-laden team with championship expectations. Then it would be completely radical and unthinkable to do something like this. I'm
well,
trying
Steve
to.
Nash. Steve Nash did. That didn't work out.
How'd
well.
that turn out? It didn't turn out very well, right?
Yeah.
So I've been trying to warn folks about this. So we've got a couple of hedgy bros, as owners now, and a lot of that mentality is about, zigging when everyone else is zagging and finding that thing that no one else is thinking about. In order to make something happen. Now, they haven't made the hire yet. They are. This tracks, though, in terms of casting a wide net and some of the other names that we've heard, which are all have no head coaching experience. So it fits right in line with that. I do think it would be hilarious if after Michael Jordan sells the team that they immediately go and hire one of the most hated Dukies in terms of UNC fans of all time to be the head coach.
Like second on the list and first for me growing up because of my era, it would only be Christian Laettner has the doc. And so if JJ Redick gets a documentary, then he'll be right there with Laettner. But that's all we're missing.
Totally. So my thought on this is like JJ Redick, lots of great insights. I mean, I watched the Mind the Game podcast. It's amazing. And, he's it's funny, he's doing a lot of this like whiteboard drawing on that podcast, and I wonder if that's signaling like, hey, I'd like to kind of get back into this whole thing. But even if you wanted to be generous and say, well, what about Steve Kerr? What about Steve Kerr, right? He was, went from 1 year as a G League coach for Golden State to being the head coach. That was a crazy circumstance with the exit of Mark Jackson. And also, he had so much front office experience to that point. And so JJ Redick brings none of that along. I would love to see Redick on the bench, maybe give him an opportunity to work his way up the ranks with whoever else you hire, because he is super smart. He understands the game. And look, he's friends with LeBron James. Draft Bronny, get JJ Redick on the bench, get LeBron James here, let's go win a championship.
Is that the plan? Yeah, I'm not sure the ego would fit in the assistant coach's chair, but that would certainly be, an interesting way to go about it. It doesn't feel like this is going to leak if you're interviewing for an assistant coach's job, but who knows? Yeah,
lots of thoughts on this, because you mentioned, okay, well, you could be generous and say, Steve Kerr, who took the job from Mark Jackson, who also is one of these similar cases. Mark Jackson gets the job after not having coached in the NBA. And while it did go pretty poorly behind the scenes, a lot of that was communication issues from what you read about why it didn't work in Golden State. On the court, I think they credit a lot of what Mark did, and that was just a little too early for the Splash Brothers to roll through the NBA playoffs like they did when Steve Kerr eventually hopped on. That was just when it was time. Sometimes it is a year's worth of difference for Curry and Klay Thompson to take over the league. And then, of course, you have Draymond Green getting kind of an accidental start over David Lee. And holy hell, we just unlaunched this defensive beast and even offense where everybody is mobile and everybody can pass, and we're not so prioritized to dump it down to Lee in the post. So there's that, right? A couple of other things. I find it interesting that we don't have a lot of information on so many of these assistant coaches. We don't know how their brain works, because all we can go off of is, well, this is their coaching tree. This is what this one weird article that we found in The Athletic on a random Tuesday in August when it's not the NBA season about Dotun Ogunwale, or when you're talking about a Charles Lee, or just an assistant GM or assistant coach, or these, behind the scenes characters in the league. We actually know a lot about JJ. But because he doesn't have assistant coaching experience, we're completely turned off, despite him maybe having the same philosophies as a lot of these other assistant coaches do. This is the point Greg Olson made a lot when he was trying to fight for a head coaching position in the NFL. I think, this is what Greg Olson would tell you, that what is the difference between me having years and years and years of experience, growing up in the league, becoming a veteran that also served as a big-time mentor to not only my position group, but also plenty of people on my side of the ball. JJ would have that same argument. And so if we know a lot about, okay, we like JJ, seems like a really smart guy in a way that we can't really prove that Charles Lee is, or Jordy Fernandez, if he was still on, still available. We know about JJ more because we get to hear him talk about the game. We know his philosophy. We know his interaction with a bunch of younger players in the game who still respect him. LeBron freaking James respects him enough to have a podcast.
Never heard of him.
Who has a little bit of power in the league. And so if you have this kind of respect from your peers, and you have this kind of respect from a national audience, and you have this kind of respect from writers who know the game and media members, I understand it. Like, I understand also he's never coached before. Yeah, you're getting a coaching job. People want you to have a little bit of experience before they feel comfortable with it. Totally understandable. But with JJ, I understand completely going after an interview and also being open-minded to it if this thing actually does take place for Charlotte.
Oh, I don't blame JJ Redick at all for taking.
Well, it's not
interview.
JJ. We'd blame the Hornets. I don't think anybody blames JJ.
I don't blame the Hornets. Like Castaway did. I want them interviewing as many people as possible, as long as they are focused on finding that person and not letting that person get away. So, but my thing on JJ is like, I'm not worried at all about the basketball acumen. I'm not worried about 2 minutes left in the game, him being able to draw up a play. I'm worried about all the stuff that we never see, which is the leadership aspect, the stuff that Clifford talked about being frustrated by and exhausted by at the end, which is getting sort of your non-star players to do the things that it takes in practice and off the court to get ready night in and night out to play well. Those are the kinds of things that I think you benefit from as being an assistant coach, seeing someone else do that day in and day out. It's a very long season. And there's a lot that happens that we don't see. And I think JJB, he was a player for a long time. So he
saw that too, I guess, right? Like that's what Greg Olson would tell you. I think JJ saw it as well in practice. You know, it maybe not in the film room, but he saw the coaches go after the star players in practice too.
Yeah, I wish we had more examples of a guy with zero head coaching experience coming in and doing that. We just don't. And so I think we're naturally going to be worried. But yeah, you're right, Walker. Like, they could strike gold. And people haven't been willing to take a chance on JJ Redick yet. Someone might. It might be Charlotte. And then we're writing articles about how Charlotte took a huge risk. And I'm telling you, these hedge fund guys, I'm just warning everyone. I'm trying to prepare people for the article that comes out that says this is the head coach and everybody going, what? I'm telling you, they're going to zig.
You can totally see it playing out in the boardroom with just those three guys. And JJ says something in the way that he is gifted to say things that sound super smart and profound and ziggy-zaggy, like you're saying, Doug, and and Rich and Gabe just being like looking at each other like, holy moly, did you hear that?
Last thing I'll say, you guys know who JJ Redick played for, right? At the beginning of his career?
Duke?
Steve Clifford.
Oh, Clifford. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's got the Steve Clifford connection. I'm just saying, there's a little bit of the Steve Clifford connection here. Like, if we want to go with the coaching tree, there's the Van Gundy coaching tree, which we already went to, but I don't know if JJ really would call himself a Van Gundy disciple, despite having the experience there. There's also the Doc Rivers, but we know that he's not necessarily Doc Rivers' disciple when he called him out for never taking accountability. So, yeah, like, this is he has – you really start to think about it. You're so right, Doug. Everybody's worried about the lack of examples. They have a few that went terribly wrong, but it's not like there's that many. We don't have many examples. We don't have a large sample size, period, and that's what scares people. But when you start to compare it to an assistant coach, I don't know how much that different it is. I really don't. I struggle to find huge differences besides, yes, the coaching experience. I understand it, but JJ, like having especially if you're a mentor, especially if you're a vet in the league, maybe it's not all that different. So
it's the day-to-day stuff, you know, it's not the game day stuff. The game day stuff plays out. I mean, everybody loves game day. It's the day-to-day, man. I mean,
talking about practice.
Practice.
Look what it's done to Clifford, for God's sakes. The man, they drove him to the hospital the last time. I'm just glad he made it through this season. It's just the day-to-day stuff. It's the background stuff. It's dealing with your assistants. It's delegating all that stuff. It's working with rookies. It's the scouting. It's the ownership. It's all the other stuff that the Hornets are going to ask them to do. You know, it's the sideline interviews. Which he won't do those, of course, never. But it's the after game stuff. So like it's all of the coaching stuff. You know, and like I wonder, has Greg Olson ever mentioned the Jeff Saturday experiment? Because that didn't go swimmingly.
No, that was front. Jim Irsay. Although I hope that our owner, unlike Irsay, his brain isn't fried. I hope that's the case. True. Yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah, owners. Yes, the owners here.
This is fascinating, though. Yeah, go ahead. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, let's move on. We have more coaching search topics coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
Plus, we have lottery odds to get to. We have a lot. We're going to have a fun show today. We have a satchel question as well, Doug, for the first time in a while.
Not a satchel question. Some things other than questions have crawled into the satchel. News items, videos, alerts.
It's a community. It's a community.
Right. Everything has gotten into this satchel, and so we need to get a few things out. We'll start today and have David Walker. Plus, a mock draft. I got to get my mock draft out.
All right. Of course. Mock draft, unload the satchel. Coming up next, Locked On Hornets. Before we move on, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's it. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and at least used to be able to do with the college basketball entries. So just focus on basketball and hockey right now. But there's a bunch of different things that you can get involved with via Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You can also test your skills on Prize Picks this basketball season in the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. There's injury insurance policies. You have quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app I was just talking about. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Guys, we did get some good news yesterday as far as the lottery odds are concerned, which I said in the cold open, we finally got some good news, and I meant good news, period, because we haven't gotten a lot this season, but it sounded like I meant good news concerned with the NBA draft. We actually have gotten some pretty nice luck here the last couple of years. One, with this instance, and also getting Brandon Miller in the second overall pick when we weren't really supposed to have the second overall selection. So what took place yesterday on the final day of the NBA season, we know the Hornets beat the Cavs. That forced a tie with the Blazers at 21 wins apiece. So to decide what team holds the third and the fourth place draft lottery odds, the NBA conducted a tiebreaker, which confirmed that Charlotte will hold now the third best odds ahead of the NBA draft lottery. Now, it doesn't really make that big of a difference concerning drawing the first overall selection. There's just a 0.1% difference there.
Tenth of a point.
That's right.
Tenth of a point.
We'll take it. We'd still rather have that 10th of a point. But really what this does is it helps you out not fall outside of the top 4. So at pick 3, you have a 7% chance at falling outside of the top 6, and you cannot fall out below 7th. At pick 4, that increases to 19%, and then there's a worst-case scenario of 8th. Getting some of this information from James Plowright as well on the All Hornets Network, part of Sports Illustrated. So good news here, and top 7 pick, pretty much guaranteed here. So what do you guys think? David, are you excited about a top 7 selection?
Always excited about a top 7 selection. Yeah, it's good. We'll take any luck we can get here. This draft is a total crapshoot. So it's not like you're getting a shot at Wemby or apparently anybody even close to that. So, you're still going to have to do your homework. You're still going to have to be prepared. That's the biggest question. How nimble can this new front office be come draft night if we see any curveballs? You know what I mean? So always good to win some, get some more percentage points in your pocket. And maybe, to your point, that maybe this little wave just continues to build for positive energy. That's the biggest thing. Let's just keep taking wins where we can get them.
We've got a long way to go before the NBA draft, and we keep calling it a crapshoot, which it is. It's definitely certifiably a crapshoot. But I feel like we've got to go to the thesaurus and just get a few more words to put in our pockets as we continue to talk about this. So I've got it's a chance, it's a venture, it's a speculation, it's a gamble, it's a flutter, it's a wager, It's a long shot, this draft. So just put those in your pocket. Going to get a few more. Shot in the dark this draft.
Shot in the dark.
All very true. All very true. You have any other thoughts, Doug?
Well, I don't have any other thoughts on this tiebreaker. I mean, you really covered it all. I think it's great. You know, anytime you can get just a little bit, just a teensy bit closer to that one pick. Not because I'm super excited about Sarr. I mean, I need to do a little digging. I don't know that I'm like terribly excited about any of these players.
Right.
But I think if you have that number one pick, I do think that there is there's a shiny object thing about having the number one overall pick. And I know they have some other number one picks that look, man, Miami not looking good there in Heatland. You know, maybe they make a run for Donovan Mitchell, but I don't know. It could get dicey there. If Dallas gets bounced, it could get dicey there. These number one picks are starting to look better and better that they traded for at the deadline. You could put a package together here that another team would be really excited about. But if there is one guy that's piquing my interest right now, and David, I want your thoughts on this guy. It is who Jonah Kubasek picked for the Hornets in his latest mock draft for GiveMeSport.com. That's right, folks. I'm keeping my promise. A mock draft every single day, in your face, in your podcast feed. GiveMeSport.com selects Stefan Castle from the University of Connecticut for the Charlotte Hornets.
GiveMeSport.com.
GiveMeSport.com. Listen, and I'm going deep already, and we're just a day into this.
Already.
Well, apologies to, was it Jonas that made that pick?
Jonah Kubasek.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because I definitely thought that was the player that you were going to be bringing up and not the person that drafted it. So sorry about that. Solid pick, though, Walker. We talked about Castle previewing the Final Four on our legendary Final Four preview show. Shout out to everyone who downloaded that right before the big game and listened to it. But a wing guy, right? Somebody that I believe is the first one and done from UConn since anyone?
No clue.
Jeremy Lamb?
Andre Drummond.
Okay, makes sense. Man, I love me some Andre Drummond.
Yeah. But Doug, there's a couple guys like Castle in the draft. He is a freshman, one and done, as I said. So got to work on the shot a little bit, but a kind of a guy that a longer wing can still do some stuff and make some stuff happen, creator with the ball as well. So, I mean, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be up there. They're going to have a couple of options for that type of player, and he might be at the top of the list. So I would be all good with that.
In this mock draft, Jonah writes, the most important thing that Stefan Castle brings is a winning pedigree.
Yes.
Oh, I love a winning pedigree.
Of course you love a winning pedigree. There is some other news that broke yesterday in the NBA draft world. Harrison Ingram deciding to enter the draft. He does keep college eligibility, but it looks like Harrison Ingram is going to stay in the draft. And if we have players that we love just later on, Harrison Ingram, sign me all the way up. This guy, look, he's going to be a little polarizing for people because he had one outlier, really good shooting season from deep, and that was last year at over 38%. His two previous seasons at Stanford before he transferred were about 31-31. His free throw percentage, it's not good at 61%. But he feels like this ball of clay that can mold into anything you want him to do. And you talk about a winning pedigree. He's got heart. Yeah, baby. Okay, you like that?
Oh,
next to a winning pedigree.
Got a lot of heart. Pedigree.
An excellent rebounder, a very, very good defender. And if that shooting is real, the form is real. Like I love Harrison Ingram as if he falls to the early second round, love that pick. Late first. Like I think he's going to be an NBA player. I think he sticks in the league for a while because I just think he does a lot of different things that you can stay on the court. And I think that's what's going to happen with his career.
And the Hornets don't have their own second round pick, but they do have one of Houston's second round picks, which you would think, and I'm not sure the order here. I'm looking for if anyone's gotten a second round order, but you would think that pick would be high.
Pretty high because they didn't make the playoffs. They were just outside. I think they were 11 seed. So
could be in play.
Yeah, could be in play. I would like it. Would like it a lot.
I would also like to add that this is a win for the always win your games camp because there's a lot of nervous Nellies out there winning that Cavs game that put them in this position for the tiebreaker. So always go out there and try and win your games, guys. That's a rule for life that I'm trying to pass on to everyone. So that another one for us. I'm with you on Harrison Ingram though. What you got, Walker?
Well, I was going to say David Walker winning pedigree. That's David. Always win your games.
That's what I look for, number one.
Love it. All right, let's move on. We do have, I think, that satchel coming up in just a moment next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
It's bursting at the seams.
We play What Crawled in Doug Branson's Sicko Satchel. That's next, Locked On Hornets. Before we do that, I want to tell you this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest or out of our satchel. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, you might want to tell somebody how you really feel, and you might even be thinking something every week. You want to say something every day. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get those things off of our chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. This episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard not looking so good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game and pull off some bank heists and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go, lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's a Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies' progress, and there's so much to do. You can play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put your game face on, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. More Locked On Hornets ahead. The first time in a while that we rummage through the Sicko Satchel. Not many questions here, but you're rummaging for something else, Doug. Show the people.
Yeah, some things have crawled in, some news items, and more than one. So we're going to get to these over the course of the week, and I really want to give the power to David to select these. So I'm going to give him a name, and he will select the name, and then I will reveal what the satchel has in store for us. But before I do that, I've got a few more synonyms for crapshoot, because I really feel like we've got to have some things in our arsenal as we prepare for draft coverage. So I've got this one. How about this one? Pig and a poke. This draft is a pig and a poke.
I don't know what that means. I don't think that's real. I think you made that up. I think you're from Gastonia. You heard it one time and you decided to bring it back.
How dare you? I am on wordhippo.com, and wordhippo.com says that pig and a poke means a highly risky or unpredictable outcome, just like throw of the dice. Throw of the dice, spin of the roulette wheel.
Is a good one.
Pig and a poke.
Your Google history has word hippo right next to givemesport.com. That's what your word history, that's what your Google history looks like right now.
Okay, satchel names. Here we go. Are you ready? I've got Brandon Miller. I've got Grant Williams. I've got Matt Geiger.
No.
Tempting, I know.
Yeah, that's what I want.
But how about this one? Michael Jordan. What do you think?
Come on. We're going to go. Give me MJ, baby, all day. Let's go.
All right, let's see what we can go to the screen share here. Let's see what the satchel has in store for us. Oh, look, it's MJ.
Oh, yeah.
And he's at the racetrack, and he's being interviewed after, I believe, his driver, Denny Hamlin, Denny Hamlin,
Reddick,
won the race.
JJ Redick.
He's being interviewed after the race. Let's see what he has to say.
This place is inside and out, but what is it like for you to be a team owner and to stand here with all the people that make it possible?
Well, as you know, this is NBA playoffs, right now. So this is to me is like an NBA playoff game. I am so ecstatic obviously for the fans who support.
What's that? What are the
itself.
playoffs?
And we've been working hard trying to get ourselves up to where we can compete against all the top guys in this sport. But
really?
We've done a heck of a job just to be where we are, and for us to win a game and win a big race like this. I mean, it means so much to me and for the effort that the team has done. And look, I'm all in. I'm all in. I love it. It replaces a lot of the competitiveness I had in basketball, but this is
Dad?
even worse, because I have no control. If I was playing basketball, I have total control, but I have no control, so I live vicariously through the drivers and all the crew chiefs and everybody. So, I'm very happy for 2311.
Okay, great.
It's amazing. No, it's an amazing soundbite.
Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Oh, that was it?
That's
just
it?
a question? I loved it. I loved everything about it. I love the black leather, Letterman's jacket, MJ's. There's a lot of videos that came out of that weekend. He was celebrating with, I believe his name is Tyler Reddick, the driver. It's not Denny Hamlin.
Oh, it wasn't Denny. Sorry, Denny. Sorry, Denny. Sorry, Tyler.
But my favorite, there's a clip you did not play. It's MJ and his crew walking back to his car to leave the track, and he basically says, "Hey, we're going to get wasted on this plane. We're getting wasted on the way back, baby." And that's what you do. That's what's going on in Dega, Doug. You don't know about
that's
Dega,
I
bro.
wish he would have done it in Charlotte. I wish instead of doing it at Dega, I wish he had done it in Charlotte. I am hurt.
Just at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Lowe's Motor Speedway.
No. Charlotte as the city, as in Spectrum Center. He used to own a team in Charlotte, and I wish he would have been all in. At the end of his run instead of being all out. This is like why your mom and dad get divorced, dad gets a new family, and dad lavishes that family with gifts, and you go, "Dad, why not me? Why couldn't you have treated me like that? Why are you so happy with your new family?"
I did see him go up to one of the guys on the crew and smack him on the back of the head like he did to Malik Monk that one time when the pit stop was just a little bit slow. So he's taken a lot of that experience. Big weekend for MJ. The Air Jordan 39 guys sneak previewed on Saturday, and Paolo Banchero wore them on court. I'm very excited about this shoe. I just had to mention that. So
I love David. David, you are deflecting right now, and I get it. You're in pain. You're in a lot of pain. I don't even think you're really ready to reconcile what we just watched and how happy he is with another team that's not
happy.
The Charlotte Hornets. Yeah, you're deflecting right now. Walker, how do you feel?
He's so happy. And what I love the fact that his brain went so much into autopilot after every single big game in his career. He says, we won a big game, big race, big what?
Tournament.
Oh, race. That's right. Yes. It's new to him, and he loves it. And it is funny also to hear him say in basketball, he has total control, whereas this racetrack thing, I can barely even pronounce. I don't even know what word this is. I don't have any control, and now we're winning. And of course, this was this gives life to the people that wanted Michael to relinquish all of that power to different basketball decision makers. But of course, that wasn't going to happen with MJ because he wanted control. Now he might even want it here, but he's winning, and it was kind of cool to see him happy. But I differ here. I'm with you, Doug. I'm with you, David. I'm on both sides of the fence.
He wanted Brandon Miller. Listen, nice little parting gift.
Parting shot. Yeah,
that's fine. But listen,
you're so bitter. You're so bitter about this NASCAR race.
Well, I wish he would have, because it was obvious he was all out on the team a long time ago, and I just wish he would have let go sooner, I guess. But this is informative in that he understands that both as an executive for a basketball team and an executive for a race team, that he lacks control. And I think on some level he always understood that anything but a player, he was not going to have control. But something about that bothered him as the owner of a basketball team versus owning a race team where it's something that he's not as intimate with. And so, it's obvious that he's happy now. I just wish Dad would have hugged me when he was living with me.
Well, oddly enough, I feel like you can affect the outcome of the race and it's a stock car, okay? And if you watch Days of Thunder, you know that all stock cars are the same, okay?
Stock car.
It ain't about But you can.
I loved how. What was his name? What's his name in real life? The crew chief. Why is it slipping my mind?
Oh, Harry Hogg
Harry Hogg was the name of the character. See, we both know that. We both know that very quickly.
Oh my God!
But
we have to think. We're staying on to it.
All right, you stay on it. I'm going to tell you what I love about it, though. The way he said stock car. Robert Duvall. The way he said stock car. Oh man, you're so relieved. The way he said stock car is like ASMR to me. He said stock car, stock car.
Stock car.
Any more Days of Thunder conversation? You hijacked it.
Robin's racing, baby.
Locked on NASCAR. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks to David for helping us out, despite the painful MJ soundbite he's clearly going through pain with. Yeah,
we're eating ice cream.
Okay, no more Days of Thunder. Stop it. Locked On Hornets. That'll do it. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, including YouTube. Follow David on Twitter at David B. Walker. Follow Doug on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. And listen to me, Walker Mail, every weekday on WFNZ from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.